Here we are. So Huw Turbervill here, the editor of the Cricketer magazine, and this is my Huw Meets series, and I'm at Cheltenham, the marvellous Cheltenham Festival, for day 2 of the game against Middlesex, and I have 2 left-arm spinners with me, one present and one former. And so David Graveney, Gloucestershire left-arm spinner, and Tom Smith, current Gloucestershire left-arm spinner. So fantastic to have them both here. We've got a decent crowd with hint of rain, isn't there?
Yeah.
But not too bad really. Kane Williamson batting. What more could you hope for, really? So I will ask David to start with.
Yeah.
David, you played for Gloucestershire between 1972 and 1990. You were captain 82 to 88. You were saying that you made your debut here
Certainly did.
at Cheltenham.
1972. It's a
The year I was born.
against Lancashire. And I was dismissed by Clive Lloyd,
Yeah.
which is an unusual person to be dismissed. Caught for Huw engineer, which wasn't unusual.
Two legends.
Bowled my first ball to David Lloyd, dropped him somewhere down in the tent down there, and sort of a long leg.
Oh, did you? Off who?
Off Procky,
Well,
which didn't go down too
was he
well.
furious?
Absolutely livid. And then started to bowl the following day to Clive Lloyd, and I couldn't understand why all the fielders disappeared until he tapped it back at me and hit me straight on the left knee. Suddenly realised he hits the ball quite hard.
Oh.
So that wasn't a great success.
That's a formidable task you had there. You were bowling to Clive Lloyd, Frank Hayes, Farouk Engineer, and Bumble,
Yeah,
who made 100.
he did. Yeah, he kept reminding me forever when we worked together in the England team.
Right.
But I'm sure Tom's the same. You remember every minute of your debut, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. The nerves that you have in the dressing room when you walk out onto the over the boundary rope. So that was no different for me than it is for any cricketer.
But generally, look, Gloucestershire played 3 games there back in the day. Special place for you?
We used to win a lot here, actually.
Did you?
The prime, not trying to be cynical, this also was a place that the club decided on who was contracted for next year. So it focused the players to make sure they performed.
During that festival, they had the review.
Yeah, the white smoke went up. So,
Crikey. Well, Tom, you played here pretty early on in your Cheltenham, your Gloucestershire career. You've been at Gloucester since 2013. You had a couple of games at Bristol, and then you were straight into Cheltenham action.
Yeah.
Were you happy to? It's a lovely ground, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I came to predominantly play 2020 cricket, but sort of thankfully at that time there's a bit of transition with the spin bowlers at Gloucestershire, and John Bracewell said, well, could you play the few 4-dayers that you're here on loan? And yeah, it was a real honour. I had played here with Middlesex. We beat Gloucestershire in a 40-over game. But yeah, to play 4-day cricket here, I think we played Kent that year and Worcester. Nice place to bowl spin. And obviously, fantastic crowd, and yeah, really enjoyable festival week.
Who were you a supporter of growing up as a?
Sussex,
Oh,
yeah. So grew up in East Sussex. I was, watching them from a very early age.
Were you aware of the great man's bowling in the?
No, probably more interested in the sort of Sussex legends, and I was very fortunate when I was growing up that Sussex were like Chris Adams's championship winning year in like 2003, and Mushy having some.
You might remember the Gillette Cup in 1973. Gloucester versus Sussex.
Yeah. Now I've been looking through your red ball stats, and I've got a theory as to who your best victim is at this ground. Who would you say?
Geez, I got Moeen Ali out here once. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, I did.
Well, more than once.
Yeah,
4 for 91 against Worcestershire.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Now, David, you didn't take long for you to have considerable success at this ground. 1974 v Derbyshire.
Yeah.
7 for 70 and 3 for 36. Remember that?
It was probably a wet wicket, I would imagine, but yeah, Tom played in an area where there weren't wet wickets. I played here. I think I got some wickets against Notts as well.
You did, 8 for 85, including Derek Randall.
Yeah, and that was probably the worst I've ever bowled.
Oh, really?
Because you bowl on a wet wicket, the length you've got to bowl is quite precise, as someone would allude to. And you probably don't know this, Huw, that my father is the last bloke ever to take 10 wickets in an innings, actually against Derby at Chesterfield. So I was playing here against Notts, I think Alistair Hignall made his debut, and I got the first 8. All right. So when it happened to my dad, the fielders all stood with their hands behind their back, but wide of the stumps to give him the best opportunity. I was given 1 over by Tony Brown and John Mortimer, who was bowling from the other end, and a guy called number 10, who couldn't bat at all, and was playing on a wet wicket, hit it twice over this building for 6, and that was the only opportunity I had.
Oh.
They got to the other end, Morty got the other 2, and I just walked off. Well, 8, still a great thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, you got 122 wickets here. I mean, I looked at the other matches. 4 wickets in both innings against Sussex, including Javed Mayandad twice, and Imran once. And remember that one?
Well, as far as it's Jamie Meander, he might have been given out LBW in the UK. He was never given out LBW in Pakistan. He used to just stand in front of the stumps.
Or famously, the World Cup final in '92.
Yeah,
Derek Pringle.
So, he was a fantastic player of spin.
Yeah.
We always played against him thinking that he'd run out the other guy at the other end, because he ran about twice as speed as Alan Jones or anything of that.
Right.
But it was a good place to play. I was very fortunate to have somebody like John Charles bowling at the other end. So between us, we managed to get through a few sides.
Well, so brings me on to my next bit, because in 1979, Boycott, LBW Childs, 95.
Yeah.
And then, 4 years later, Boycott caught Stovall bowled Grav, 97. So he'd missed out on adding to his vast collection of first-class hundreds.
I think the one when he got 97, I was shown a red card by the umpire, because I thought I had him out LBW, stone LBW. And he was a prize wicket, because he was a fantastic player. And John Harris was the umpire, who sadly is no longer with us. So he was walking down the hill that way, and we managed to cross over, and I ankle tapped him, and he fell over in a pile, thinking that I actually kicked him because he didn't give Boycott out. But we had one really incident here where you could get maxed a lot of bonus points if you got the runs within 100 overs, and they were like sort of 2 wickets down. He was batting with Kevin Sharp, and Ray Illingworth was standing in front of the pavilion telling him to get on with it. They needed 16 or 4 overs, and Boycott just kept going like this, and so they missed the bonus point. And the biggest row that ever took place was the dressing rooms were really side by side. So, and he left him out for the next game of Scarborough. It was like a demonstration.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah, in front of the pavilion. So he was.
Did he rib him about missing out on 100?
He never do it to a good player.
No.
Tend to catch up with you.
Mother cricket.
Yeah.
Tom, you've bowled a lot of T20 here. Is it a good place to bowl T20 or?
Not really, as the dimensions are very tight, and you probably only have like one surface out the 4 or 5 where it's sort of equal both sides. You're always trying to defend a smaller side. But in general, in white ball cricket, it has spun a little bit, and therefore you get your rewards. Me and Benny have had a couple of decent games here together, but you're sort of relying on a good power play, really. If the bowlers can get in amongst the middle order, you can have a reasonable day here. But you can also, as we've seen even this year in the Sussex game, I think, 190 was chased down. It is a hard ground to defend on.
Being very modest. The opposition was seen as a major threat bowling here.
Yeah, is it because of conducive to spin?
Yeah, well, the slope helps, doesn't it? I think, and I always like bowling down a slope, certainly in T20, so the ball's sort of going outside the batter's swing. And Benny was always quite happy with a slope going in towards the stump, so we never had any arguments here who was bowling which end, which then does help them for taking leading edges and getting catches in the deep, or stumpings, balls missing the bat. So. Yeah, there is certainly something in it for spin bowlers.
Well, you've got an excellent record, 193 wickets in T20, yeah. Now, Gloucestershire was 7th in this year's Blast. How did the campaign go overall?
Well, a tricky campaign, obviously defending the trophy, losing the first 5 or 6 games was not in the script, really. But, there was some positives. I think after we got through that first block, we then won, I think it was 4 in a row. We gave ourselves a decent chance. And, right until the second to last game, we still had an opportunity to still qualify. Certainly lots of learnings. I think the tournament presented slightly differently than last year. Last year it did a lot more in the power play. This year it did less. Our success was around Payne and Taylor in the power play and Shaw, and that just wasn't what the tournament was this year. It was more dominated by batting in the power play. But yeah, some good stories. Darcy Short being the leading run scorer in the group stages. David Payne, another great tournament. Emergence of, I know he's not with us next year, but Singdale had a very good tournament as well. Got into the 100. So there was some positive stories from the tournament, albeit the team success wasn't anywhere near what we would have liked it to have been.
Just didn't quite get enough runs. Darcy Shaw played brilliantly, but if you take him out and look at the runs of all the other batters, not by lack of effort, just didn't happen. And just looking from the outside, we won a couple of games or tied a game we had no right to tie at the Oval, and then Shawsey hit at 6 at Cardiff. Those sort of slight margins didn't go in our favour this time, and that we would have qualified.
Do you live near here, David, or
In Bristol.
you sound like you follow it quite closely still?
Well, I'm vice chairman of the club. So
Lovely.
Should follow.
Yep, brilliant. So you're at every game and
Well, this particular ground here, not that. So I can go back, was like 10 years old playing in the band when my father played against my uncle here, one for Gloucester, one for Worcester. So I think it's a fantastic ground. I think this year it looks like it does when it was 20 years ago. I know it's a smaller point, but white tents is actually quite a nice thing to have. And we've had decent crowds, sun shining. Tom will relate to this, an electric outfield. I always think when I bowled here, I could bowl a good over and still go for 8 because it just missed the fielders going that way. And the one thing about bowling limited overs, not in a defensive way, at least you can get a few scouts out to get the ball back.
You mentioned your father Ken, who played for Gloucestershire between 47 and 1960, and of course you had a very famous uncle Tom Graveney. Did they give you a lot of coaching? Were they massive influences, or did they stay away?
Well, influences is like sort of watched Tom when he played for England when I was tiny. Watched his last game at Worcester. In fact, actually the first game I ever played with adults was for Worcester in Ron Headley's benefit match. So yeah, and he lived in Winchcombe, which is like in between here and Worcester. So this is one of my favourite grounds. If I was actually put on a spot, what's my most favourite ground would be Worcester, the old Worcester, not necessarily the new Worcester with a new pavilion, the old white pavilion in the corner. On a sunny day, this ground is equal. The backdrop here is fantastic. So I've got lots of memories here. They're not necessarily related to me personally. We played a game against Hampshire in 1986 when we were both running for the championship. We had Walsh, we had Lawrence, we had Curran. They had a guy called Malcolm Marshall. So I asked John Taylor, who was the groundsman then, who was a fantastic groundsman, and we used to have, these wickets are in the outfield of the school. They're not actually on the main square. And he used to get one of those huge motorway rollers and sit on it for 3 weeks and just keep rolling and rolling. And I asked him sort of, because we were going, I said, John, do you think we could just have a nice quiet match against Hampshire? Take the pace out of the wicket. The first ball was bowled to Paul Remains from Malcolm Marshall. He hit it straight up in the air. Chris Smith made a very poor attempt to catch it. And we're watching up from the balcony on the side there, and watching from the side, everything looks about 10 times quicker. And after 6 overs, we were 0 for 0, and I'm thinking, we're not going to run here. We're going to be bowled out for 0. The 2 batsmen were then discussing it. And our first scoring shot was an attempted hook off Marshall that went in the car park, obviously the other end. We then won the game. They were chasing 120, something like that, and they were 103 for 2, and we managed to win the game. It was the most extraordinary match. Some of the people here would have remembered it. Sadly, we didn't win a game after that. So we nearly had a chance to win the championship. So yeah, it's a really, not say Bristol is not a good place to play, but it's just very intimate ground. A lot of people come here and have a really nice time.
Tom, who are your influences growing up, and who made you the cricketer you are?
Well, I certainly didn't have the family impact that Grabs had. My dad didn't play or anything like that. I'm one of 5 sisters and really play sports so much. But I guess I got a lot of influence from my club team. Played for Eastbourne Cricket Club, and that's had Ed Giddings, James Kirtley, Tim Attenborough, um, Ben Brown, Ollie Rayner. It's been like quite a rich history of producing cricketers.
Yeah.
Andy Flower played there. So I guess just
Saffron.
going down the Saffrons as a very young kid, watching Sussex play because I used to have the festival week there. And like then watching James Kirtley play and like those people that went on and had good careers for Sussex inspired me. But I guess just playing men's cricket really. I went to a state school, played a lot of club cricket, and then just made my way through the Sussex ranks. So Sussex, a bit like what Grav's saying, coming as a young kid here, that was my journey of just going down to the county ground, watching Sussex play,
Nice.
playing in the nets with a few local kids.
Thank you.
I would say about reflection here is that I was very fortunate not to bowl left-arm spin at Zahir Abbas on this ground, because he destroys left-arm spinners. Just bring him on. Where Derek Underwood, guy who played for Sussex, Giles Cheadle, he'd virtually terminated his career.
Right.
He was just, he loved playing on a ground where he didn't have to run. So when you penetrated the field here, it's just a boundary every time.
Sounds good. You mentioned Zahir Abbas, but I was going to mention Jack Russell, Terry Alderman, David Lawrence among the legends you played with them.
Well, sadly, as
David,
the people here, and Tom will know that sadly, Sid has died. It was really an unbelievable struggle against illness. The one compliment I can pay Sid, and actually it was in that game against Hampshire, you could have walked on the ground here, and such was his level of effort, you wouldn't know whether he got 5 for 20 or 0 for 100. He still bowled every single ball, 100% effort. And as far as Jack was concerned, hopefully I played a part in him getting being selected by moving down the batting order so he could bat higher up. But the wicket keeping is a really sensitive area, I think, for people captain, because I had to make the decision of leaving Andy Brassington out, who was the keeper at the time, for Jack. And when it's a specialised position, sometimes you actually are terminating their careers by doing that. I can remember walking Jack actually Andy round this ground and saying to him, we're going to have to change the wicketkeeper to some young guy from Stroud called Jack Russell. And he said, why have you taken so long to make that decision?
Right.
We should have made it months ago.
Oh, that's good of him, isn't it, really? Yeah. Now, Tom, Championship resumes September. Gloucestershire are 6th at the moment. What do you think? What's the rest of the season entail?
Yeah, it's been ups and downs. We've been very close on a number of occasions in that first block of 7 games. The Kookaburra rounds have been a real challenge to force a result. So they had 2 draws and should have really been a draw against Lancashire last week. We just messed that up with the bat. It's been hard, to force results.
Williamson now.
Yeah, and as we sit here today, Kane's playing very well. It's going to be a very hard to force a result. Lost a bit of time to weather. I think it has been a challenging year. There's been enough written about it in the press with players leaving, and I think it will have an impact on the team. But the boys are as determined as ever to get to Division 1 cricket. We obviously had a very short taste of it a few years ago, and we want to get back there. And it's just been hard trying to get 20 wickets in general. But it's not through any sort of effort or desire. We just haven't quite been able to string it together.
And history would show that actually this has normally been quite a productive ground for us. But the weather has been so extreme that block of 7 games to start the game, if you're a bowler, that's a hard slog. But I've had stats given to me by people who are standing here of how few games we've won at Bristol over the last 3 or 4 years. And if we are to progress, we have to change the surfaces that we're playing on. Not make them rows, but give our bowlers half a chance. And it's, to reassure the members that, cricket club history was so people come and go as players. The club will always be here, but we need to be able to give our seam bowlers half a chance of taking wickets and develop as bowlers, because we're not doing that.
Okay, well, we'll end with the club and the future of Cheltenham. Just want to ask you, David, about your time as chairman of England selectors,
Yeah.
following in the footsteps of some very sort of famous people, like Peter May and so on. Look back with pride on that
Oh,
period.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when you're not good enough to play for your country, that's probably the second best thing.
Mm.
When we finished bottom of the test table after year one, I was thinking maybe it's not the best thing we've ever had.
99.
But yeah, 2005 will obviously stand out. Um, to be able to ring people and tell them they're playing for your country is a great honour and privilege. A little bit jealousy that I never received a phone call. The worst bit of it is actually ringing people to say you've been left out. But to be able to, as I say, not be good enough to play, but to be part of it was a fantastic honour.
When did you feel you were close to getting an England call up?
88 probably. It's actually I went to, and this is when with England had about 5 captains to play against the West Indies. None of them worked,
Yeah.
but they produced a spinning wicket Old at Old Trafford, and it ended up it was either going to be myself, Nick Cook, and I probably talked myself out of it, which I'm probably the only person ever talked myself out of playing for England. Chose Nick Cook. He fell over a boundary, and actually they picked the best left-arm spinner, which was John Charles, and he played in that Test match, but he only bowled once because they bowled Malcolm Marshall bowled us out twice on a spinning wicket. So that was about. I played in the England under-23s, but you know, there were a lot of very good bowlers around, and I was just happy to be considered. But to be chairman of selectors was the next best thing.
You had those interesting characters to deal with. You had Mr. Duncan Fletcher and Rodney Marsh.
Yeah.
So you had some.
I had to separate those two.
Yeah, I remember reporting on it with you at the time, and they were interesting times, weren't they? They had a little rivalry going on there.
They did, yeah. Duncan and I probably slightly disagreed about things.
Chris Reed and Geraint Jones.
Chris Reed, Monty Panesai, he didn't think Ireland should play.
No.
And he wanted this concept of having a sort of inner group within a team. So the people who were outside the group, which included Harmison, Flintoff, just seemed very cliquey.
Yeah.
You know, you could talk to certain players, but
Interesting.
But he was an outstanding coach.
Oh yeah, well, good technical batting coach. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Interesting. Right. We'll conclude. Draw to a conclusion. Just to let you know, my colleague Dave Sharman is here, and he can help you subscribe to the Cricketer magazine, which comes out every 4 weeks. Still going strong, best-selling.
That's Tom and I.
Longest running. Are you a subscriber?
I am.
Excellent. Tommy, you a subscriber? Oh, brilliant. We've got 2 here already. So be like Tom, be like David. T-shirts, Ashes 2005, Dave. Yep. So fantastic. And just to say, just sort of generally a last word then on the future of Gloucestershire County Cricket Club. Obviously, we've got sort of franchise cricket, we've got 100 teams and all this sort of thing. Are you optimistic about the future of the club? And secondly, are you optimistic about the future of Cheltenham as a venue? So, David, do you want to start off?
Well, it's the oldest festival, and the club, if they have any sense of duty to the membership, should make every effort to protect the festivals. And that's obviously lobbying around the structure moving forward. If, Tom probably started in an era. I definitely played in an era where he played on Wednesday, he played on Saturday, he played on a Sunday. Very easy to understand. It's now very complicated, but you only have to look at the people here and the atmosphere. This should be protected with everything. Future of Gloucestershire. Obviously, he's debating around the ground move. There's every county's now getting windfall in terms of the 100 money. I think it's exciting in the future, but I think it's frightening because if it goes the wrong way, then it can have some disastrous consequences. But Gloucestershire can only do what they can do, and one of the high on the agenda is to protect this festival.
Space. Good words from David. Yeah, and Tom, what do you think about the future of the club and the future of the venue?
Yeah, well, I think just from a playing group perspective, it's we want to play here. We really enjoy our 2 weeks here. Yeah, I think it's lovely playing 4-day cricket here. I think previous years we had 3 T20s here. And I don't know. I think the magic is in the 4-day cricket, and if the schedule allows it, we'd be, we're all for that.
They might go down to 12 matches, 6 home matches. It might be that they only have 1 here. Do you think? I mean, that's what people.
Yeah, it'd be a shame. It would be a shame.
As it happens, they're debating it today whether it should be 12 or 14. But if the wickets go back to where they used to be, he'll be recalled. He might want to go coaching, but don't forget his bits out.
Is that what your next stage might be?
Yeah, so now a retired player, and on to the next thing, which I'm actually coaching in the women's 100 with Birmingham Phoenix next, and then I'll be back here to help with the coaching in September.
Oh, brilliant,
They've
brilliant.
got some good spinners, so he's going to have an exciting time creating the next generation.
Well, I think that went pretty well. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thanks for
you.
joining the cricketer.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you.